My name is Daniel, and welcome back to Timeless Lessons Hub. I've been wanting to tell this story for a while now because it touches something a lot of us quietly struggle with: the tension between praying for something and actually going out to work for it. Some of us lean too hard on one side. Some of us lean too hard on the other. This story is about a man who found a way to hold both at once and what it cost him to get there. Let's get into it. James had worked the mill at the edge of town for 9 years, ever since he was old enough to lift a grain sack without help. It wasn't glamorous work, but it was steady, and steady was enough for a man with a wife and 3 children who depended on him. Then the river changed course after 2 hard winters. The water dropped too low to turn the mill wheel reliably, and the owner made the only decision that kept the business alive at all. He let half his workers go. James was one of them. He walked home that evening rehearsing what he'd say to his wife, Sarah, and found he didn't have the right words for any version of it. She took the news the way she took most hard things, quietly, practically, already thinking 2 steps ahead. "We'll manage," she said. "We'll pray and we'll manage." James nodded. He believed both halves of that sentence completely. He just didn't yet know how much work would sit inside the second half. Every morning after that, James woke before the household and prayed the same simple prayer, kneeling beside the bed while Sarah and the children slept. "Lord, provide for us today. Open a door I can walk through." Then he got up and he walked every single day, to the tanner's shop, to the neighboring farms, to the stable master 2 towns over, to anyone he'd ever heard employed even a single extra pair of hands. Most days ended exactly like they began. No work, no pay, just another closed door and another long walk home in the fading light. There was a man in the village, Walter, who James had known most of his life, who lost his position around the same season James did. Walter handled it differently. He prayed too, every day, sincerely, kneeling in his own home just as faithfully as James did. But Walter mostly stayed there afterward, waiting, telling anyone who asked that he trusted the Lord would provide when the time was right, and that running around town chasing after work felt, to him, like a lack of faith in that promise. James understood the feeling. Some mornings, exhausted before he'd even started walking, he envied Walter's stillness. It would have been easier to simply wait. But something in him couldn't quite settle into that stillness, even on the hardest days. He kept praying, and he kept walking. Weeks passed this way, then a month, then most of a second one. James tried things that had nothing to do with mill work because pride had stopped being something he could afford. He split firewood for a widow 2 farms over in exchange for half a loaf of bread. He helped a traveling merchant repair a broken wheel on the side of the road simply because he happened to be walking past at the right moment, and the merchant paid him a few coins for an hour's work he would have done for free. None of it was steady. None of it solved anything by itself. Some nights, counting the day's small, scattered earnings against what his family actually needed, James wondered honestly whether any of it mattered at all, or whether he was simply exhausting himself, while Walter, sitting quietly at home, ended up no worse off for having done less. His youngest daughter asked him one evening why he was always so tired. He didn't have a clean answer to a 6-year-old. He just told her, "Because Papa's still looking," and she seemed to accept that more easily than he'd accepted it himself that week. The door that finally opened wasn't one James had knocked on directly. It was the merchant he'd helped fix the wheel for weeks earlier, a man named Reuben who traveled between towns buying and selling grain, cloth, and tools. Reuben remembered him, not because the work had been especially impressive, but simply because James had stopped to help a stranger without being asked on an ordinary afternoon that hadn't seemed to matter at the time. Reuben came through town again in early autumn, this time looking for a reliable man to help manage his cargo on the road, loading, unloading, keeping accounts steady. Someone honest enough to trust with goods worth real money over long stretches of travel. He asked around, and James's name came up more than once, mentioned by the widow whose firewood he'd split, by a stable hand he'd helped without pay one slow afternoon, by small, scattered people who remembered small, scattered efforts James himself had mostly forgotten making. Reuben found him repairing a neighbor's fence, one more unpaid favor in a season full of them, and offered him steady work on the spot. James didn't get that position because he prayed the hardest prayer in town. Walter had prayed just as sincerely, every single day, with a heart every bit as genuine as James's own. James got that position because 2 months of small, unglamorous, often unpaid effort had scattered his name and his character across enough people that when an opportunity finally appeared, someone already knew exactly who to ask for. I want to be careful here because this story is easy to misunderstand in either direction. This isn't a story that says prayer doesn't matter or that effort alone explains everything good that happens to a person. James prayed every single morning, and he never once believed his own hard work had somehow replaced the need for it. He simply understood, in a way that took him months of tired evenings to fully learn, that praying for a door to open and refusing to walk toward any door in the meantime were two very different postures, even though they can look similar from a distance. Walter wasn't a foolish man, and his faith wasn't smaller than James's, but somewhere along the way he had confused stillness with trust, as though moving his feet might somehow suggest he doubted the answer was coming. James never fully understood why the same season treated two similarly faithful men so differently. He only knew, looking back, that his own 2 months of walking, splitting wood, fixing wheels, and mending fences for strangers had built something Walter's stillness never had the chance to build. A scattered trail of small, ordinary kindness that eventually led straight back to him. So here's the question worth sitting with. If you've been praying for something, a job, a breakthrough, a door to open somewhere in your life, what have your feet been doing in the meantime? Not out of doubt that the answer is coming, out of trust that the answer might not knock on your front door directly, but might instead be waiting somewhere down one of the smaller, less obvious roads you haven't walked yet. Faith isn't proven by how still you can sit while you wait. It's proven by whether you're still willing to get up and walk one more unglamorous day, even when yesterday's walking led nowhere you could see yet. If this story reached you today, consider subscribing to Timeless Lessons Hub. Every week we share stories from ordinary life, carrying truth that outlasts the moment you're in. Because sometimes the answer to your prayer isn't waiting behind the door you keep knocking on. It's waiting somewhere down the road you haven't walked yet, the one you'll only find by getting up and moving your feet.